It's been in the news, you know. Gasps, whispers, and frenzy looks everywhere. An emotional update on PK Kemsley's condition leaves Dorit Kemsley completely heartbroken. The entertainment world has been buzzing for weeks, with fans and insiders speculating about a situation that struck a chord with so many of us. Our minds ran wild with possibilities, while the couple at the center of it all quietly carried a heavy truth. We are deeply saddened by the loss of someone who brought PK and Dorit joy, laughter, and a bond that many envied for years. Behind the glamorous facade of Beverly Hills mansions and sparkling parties, there was a private pain, one that tabloids couldn't possibly capture. This isn't just gossip. This is a story that reminds us how fragile and profound human connections can be, and how even the strongest couples can be shaken by personal heartbreak. Keep watching, because what PK and Dorit finally revealed was more than a headline. It was a universal truth wrapped in their very personal grief. Millions of viewers across the country were going about their regular mornings. Meanwhile, something felt different in the world of Beverly Hills. During what was supposed to be another lighthearted appearance, the mood shifted. Dorit, usually vibrant, composed, and glowing, seemed shaken. PK, normally the one to lighten the room with a witty remark, looked solemn. And then, instead of scripted pleasantries, PK spoke from the heart. No polished speeches, no camera-ready smile. Just a husband holding back tears while sharing devastating news. The camera panned to Dorit, her eyes shining as tears slid silently down her cheeks. The internet exploded within minutes. Hashtags spread. Clips were shared. Dorit's soft, broken sobs echoed across millions of feeds. Even though PK, at 57, usually appears vibrant and larger than life, our collective hearts went straight to the worst. Health emergency, sudden accident, the unknown is terrifying, and fans were preparing for the most tragic outcome. Over the years, their relationship became more than a reality TV storyline. PK and Dorit's marriage had grown into something that felt familiar to their fans. Their love, their banter, their shared humor, their resilience. When something seemed wrong with this iconic couple, the public worried deeply. And when the real news broke, it was different from what many feared, but it was a heartbreak millions understood. PK and Dorit weren't dealing with a sudden illness or a scandal. They were grieving a loss close to home. They had lost their beloved dog, Trouble, a four-legged companion who had been with them for nearly 16 years. For outsiders, some may have wondered why this news shook them so deeply. But anyone who has ever loved a pet, truly loved them, understood every tear. Trouble wasn't just a dog. Trouble was part of their family. A silent witness to every joy, every storm, every quiet night in that grand Beverly Hills home. Trouble arrived when Dorit and PK were still building their family. Over the years, that little ball of fur became a constant. Through late-night dinners, filming schedules, holidays, and children growing up, Trouble was there. Always wagging a tail, always listening, always giving the kind of unconditional love that only a loyal dog can give. When PK spoke about Trouble, his voice cracked. He described her goofy antics, the way she'd curl up beside him after long nights, the little bark that always announced Dorit's arrival home. He talked about the way she gave them comfort when life got overwhelming, even when the world was watching them through the magnifying glass of fame. For the Kemsley family, Trouble's passing wasn't just the end of a chapter. It was losing a quiet pillar of their daily lives. Fans have always loved following Dorit's glamorous fashion, PK's cheeky humor, their dynamic on screen. But this moment was different. It was raw. It was human. It showed the world that behind every headline, behind the designer clothes and diamonds, are people who love deeply and hurt deeply. Dorit, known for her polished elegance, broke down as she talked about how empty the house felt without Trouble. Her voice trembled as she explained how their children, who had grown up with the dog, were devastated too. Trouble wasn't just their pet, she was family. They admitted that at first, they wanted to keep their grief private. But ultimately, PK and Dorit decided to share their story. Why? Because they knew so many of their fans had gone through something similar. They wanted people to know it's okay to feel this pain. Their honesty resonated deeply. Fans flooded their accounts with messages of love and support. People shared their own stories of loss, of saying goodbye to furry best friends who had carried them through years of love and laughter. This grief connected people who had never even met. During their heartfelt conversation, PK and Dorit opened up about how the loss had tested them and also strengthened them. PK admitted he broke down in private more than once. Dorit shared how she found herself waiting for Trouble's familiar footsteps at night. But through that pain, they leaned on each other. Their bond grew stronger, forged in shared sorrow. Their story became a reminder. Grief does not care about fame, money, or status. It's universal. Dorit encouraged viewers to give themselves permission to feel everything, to talk about their grief, to cry, to honor their pets or loved ones without shame. PK echoed the sentiment, reminding fans that love doesn't disappear with loss, it simply changes form. What PK and Dorit did wasn't just share a sad moment. They opened a window into their private lives, showing their vulnerability, their love, and their humanity. They reminded their audience that strength isn't pretending to be unshaken. Real strength is letting your heart break and still choosing love. For a couple whose lives are so often splashed across television screens and gossip columns, this grief was quiet, intimate, and raw. Dorit described those first few mornings as the hardest. She would wake up instinctively expecting to hear Trouble's soft whimper at the door, the daily signal that it was time for breakfast, but the house remained still, empty. Grief has a way of finding its way into the smallest corners. Dorit shared during a candid late-night interview. You don't realize how much presence one little soul can have until it's gone. She wasn't just a dog. She was a heartbeat in this home. PK, who's often the more lighthearted one, admitted he tried to stay strong for Dorit and the kids, but even his humor couldn't soften the quiet ache in his chest. I'd walk into the living room and expect her on her favorite couch, head tilted like she was about to tell me off for being late, he said with a trembling smile. But she wasn't there. That kind of silence, it's deafening. For their children, who grew up with Trouble by their side, the loss was equally devastating. Trouble had been present for every milestone: birthday parties, school mornings, family holidays. She was their protector, their playmate, their softest place to land when life got overwhelming. To them, she was never just a pet. She was part of their childhood. In the wake of this loss, PK and Dorit made the brave choice to talk openly about it, not as reality TV stars, but as parents and partners navigating grief. And what happened next was something they never anticipated. Messages began pouring in from around the world. Fans, fellow pet owners, and even people who'd never watched an episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills sent their condolences. They shared photos of their own pets, told stories of their own heartbreak, and thanked the couple for being honest about something so universally felt yet rarely discussed so publicly. It felt like we'd opened a door to a room full of people who understood us without needing any explanation, Dorit said softly. It wasn't about being a celebrity anymore. It was about being human. Grief, as they learned, doesn't follow a timeline. Some days were almost normal. Other days, Dorit would find herself clutching Trouble's old collar and breaking down. PK admitted that even the sound of the doorbell could bring a sudden lump to his throat because Trouble always barked when it rang. The couple leaned on each other in ways they hadn't before. In the high-pressure world of reality television, they were used to presenting a composed exterior. But now they found themselves crying together, reminiscing, laughing at old memories, and sitting quietly when words weren't enough. Loss doesn't just show you how much you love someone, PK reflected. It shows you how strong your love still is, even when they're not there anymore. One night, they gathered as a family to hold a small, private memorial for Trouble. It wasn't a grand affair, no media, no cameras, no extravagant setup. Just the Kemsleys, a few candles, and Trouble's favorite toys laid out on the grass. Dorit read a letter she had written to their beloved pup, her voice shaking with emotion. PK placed Trouble's collar in a small wooden box as the kids whispered their goodbyes. This story isn't just about PK and Dorit. It's about every bond that changes us, every love that teaches us, and every goodbye that reminds us how deeply we can feel.